Hello and welcome to the Practice Marketing Podcast, highlighting successful strategies from North America's fastest growing clinics and experts so you can learn from their wins and power your practice growth. I'm your host, Neil Trickett, CEO of Practice Promotions, and today we're going to be talking with Anna Starikov, who is the marketing director at MTI Physical Therapy, a 7-location practice in Bellevue, Washington State. And she's been there since 2013, so she's got a lot of experience that she's going to share with us in multi-location marketing and leading MTI's practice marketing. MTI has also been a Practice Promotions client since 2017, so we've loved being part of their journey and growing with them. And Anna will share with us today how she approaches filling the schedules of over 44 providers. So Anna, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Neil. It's really a pleasure to be here. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, pleasure's all mine. And I'm really excited to chat with you here. I know that it's obviously been 8 years that we've been working together in a journey here with MTI, and I love seeing your growth. And I'm curious, we were chatting a little bit about this before the podcast, but you've seen this transition over time in the source of new patients, and I'm curious how you've seen that change in MTI's mix of new patients coming in over time.
Absolutely. So specifically in terms of referral sources, we kind of started out very, very heavy on mostly provider referrals and lots of friends and family referrals. I'm lucky because I work for a really amazing company that has very talented physical therapists. So some of my job is done for me because the patients love their experience and are very happy with their outcomes. And so they're constantly referring patients, which is really helpful. But there was very little digital marketing going on 13 years ago, to be honest. Everyone started, to have a web presence, but there wasn't a lot going on. So over time, and especially with the help of your team at Practice Promotions and that we work together on kind of creating more and more of a digital marketing presence. And so now I'm seeing kind of a 50-50 split in terms of friends and family and provider side of referral. And then the digital marketing piece. So it's been a really interesting transition and really important piece of our marketing strategy.
That's awesome to hear. And that's exactly what, we've seen over time too, with lots of different clinics across the US and Canada, more so in the US because Canada I always thought was a little bit ahead of this in terms of direct to consumer marketing. But in the US, 10 years ago, we were all very heavy on physician referrals.
Mm-hmm.
And then that landscape has just slowly changed. But I would say, especially in this last, 3 years, 2 years, especially since COVID, it just dramatically switched to much more of the digital presence, people finding us online. And now we're in the age of AI where people are doing much more research online about who they should go see, why they should go see someone, and asking Google AI overview. They're asking ChatGPT these questions. So it'll be interesting to see in the future what that mix looks like for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
As that continues to expand.
Yeah, AI has been definitely a game changer, and I've been trying to wrap my head around it for the past year. And it's been very interesting to learn that very quickly evolving tool that we have at our fingertips now. So it's great.
Yeah. Now I love that you focus heavily also on your referral marketing. And when we tend to think, in the PT world, we think of referrals, we think of physician referrals, right? And that's one component. But we all know how important it is to have great word of mouth, how important it is to have patients referring other patients. So I'm curious for you, what do you like to do to focus on past and current patient marketing?
Yeah, so we do several things when we're trying to kind of reach out to our current and past patients. Of course, we have some email campaigns. We have a little bit of, what's referred in our industry as the drip program, where we're slowly sending little tidbits of information. I mean, that could be anything from a birthday greeting or checking in on a discharged patient at certain intervals, 3, 6, and 12 months afterwards, making sure they're doing great. And if not, letting them know that we're here for them. And with our current patients, it's just really listening to them and nurturing those relationships. They're always, as they're going through their treatment, as they're getting better, they're always really happy to leave us great Google reviews, and then they're all, always happy to refer other people because they're feeling so much better. So it just makes sense when somebody else is hurting, they want to help, and that's how they help. So
Yeah.
yeah, just that's been a really kind of nice way for us to move forward through keeping that continuity with our current and past patients.
I love that. And so what would you say to a practice owner out there who really, they don't really put as much emphasis on past patient marketing or on current patient marketing? What would you say to them?
Well, I would say that retention marketing is just as important as acquisition marketing. So we're always thinking about reaching new patients to fill the schedules, but there's a lot of ways that we can leverage those really important relationships with our current and past patients as well for that retention piece. So I would say it is very important to have a retention strategy, and that might look very different depending on your practice, the size of it, and kind of the focus of it. But another really kind of effective way is providing other useful information to your patients while they're in treatment and afterwards. So having your team write blogs and articles that are very specific to the dysfunction that the patient is in physical therapy for, so that you can send out those targeted articles that may be helpful to your patient. So it ends up being a win-win. They're learning something that's going to help them. And then you're also giving them a little reminder that we're still here and we're the experts in our field.
Yeah, totally love that. And it's so important. I mean, um, I know, I being a practice owner before, you get so focused on new patients, right? I got to get more new patients. I got to, go out to the doctors. I got to spend more money on online advertising. And sometimes we just prioritize that too much over that retention strategy. Like, well, what are we doing to make sure that, one, as patients come in, they're super happy and they keep coming in. And then that's an opportunity for us to then ask for reviews, testimonials. It's an opportunity for us to ask for referrals from them. And then, of course, how can we leverage their relationship with the physician to say, hey, go back to your doctor or call your doctor, tell them, how you're feeling now, like the outcome that you've had. So there's lots of opportunities there. And sometimes we don't put enough attention or strategy on that component.
Yeah, we call those people raving fans at our company because they already love us. And so fans, we think about sports fans, of course, that sports analogy, they are all in on their team. And so, sometimes we just have to kind of remind them that they can help us in this way, and we're always happy to. That's the greatest compliment is when a patient refers us to someone else and becomes that raving fan. So
Mhm.
100%.
Love it. And so, as the marketing director for MTI Physical Therapy, what are some of the top areas that you have your attention on, let's say throughout the month? What do you like to look for there?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a very busy job, especially at a mid-sized or a small company where you might be the only in-house marketing resource. I really enjoy all aspects of my job, but one of the biggest focuses that I tend to look at every month are the metrics. So I find that you cannot make decisions without data. And so getting data, knowing data, understanding data, and being able to explain the data and then analyze it to create the strategy is really important. Practice Promotions provides us with data on the website and kind of some of the digital pieces that you help us with, but there are a lot of other metrics such as new patients, visits, returning patients, fill rates, things like that, that are very, very important to help us kind of understand how we're doing and then make critical decisions on strategy for how we pivot. Of course, we have an annual strategy, but you have to be really agile in this space. So you have to be able to kind of pivot when things shift, and things do shift pretty quickly. The other thing that I really enjoy and I think is an important part of the marketing director's job is staying not only current with the technology, but also current with your team. So I'm really lucky because I have a really wonderful operations team that I work with, and I work very closely with our clinic managers, but I also work really closely with each and every physical therapist. And so the physical therapists also do a lot of marketing, whether they know it and like it or not. So they're
Yeah.
marketing every day when they're speaking with friends, when they're out there. A lot of them do sideline coverage at events. They'll table at events. They're just very involved in the community, and each of them is a very unique individual. I don't know if you know this about our company, but our logo, which is the fingerprint, it basically signifies the fact that we're all unique as our fingerprint, right? So each person who we treat is unique, but each physical therapist who we have is also very unique. So one person might really be into running, the other person might really be into rock climbing, somebody might really be into treating pro athletes, and other people just might be really into working with pelvic health. So whatever their kind of passion is, I love to understand that and help them to cultivate that and find ways to market within those affinity groups. Because if they're doing the marketing with groups that they understand and have something in common with, then marketing doesn't become a job anymore. It becomes a love and a passion. And that's what I love to try to cultivate within our own team as well. So that's part of what I do every month, is try to kind of get out to the clinics and, see how everyone's doing and come up with some ideas for how people can continue to grow their patient base based on their own passions.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, I love that. And so I think that's such a critical thing to unpack, is the relationship that you have with the professionals within the clinic, right? And the one thing I always look at as a marketing director is you're that liaison between the community and the world and what's happening within the clinic. And so the job is to gather and develop those relationships within the clinic so that we can tell the world and the community all these amazing stories and outcomes and things that are happening within the clinic. And so if that's not happening, there can be a disconnect, right? And so I think that's such a critical component. Sometimes we think, oh, you know what? I need that marketing director out there, beating the streets, meeting the doctors, feeding the doctors, whatever it may be, or, making sure that we're working on this social media post or whatever. But we sometimes forget, the intangibles, right? The ones making those relationships, leveraging things, things that we may not even think about, that if as a marketing director, we're helping to keep that, let's say sports therapist or, running performance therapist busy, they're going to be happier, right? Because they're doing something that they enjoy. It's helping the clinic out. It's making them happier. That works with staff retention. There's all these like intangibles that can occur from those relationships, those communication lines that happen within the clinic. So I love that you work on that. And the other thing I wanted to unpack was the data driven decision making. And so as a practice owner, a lot of times in the clinic, we focus on a lot of the core metrics that come from the operation side. How many patient visits, how many drop-offs did we get, arrivals at the front desk, and then we think about finance. Okay, what's my billing, what's my AR? Like we look at these metrics a lot from our EMR and everything, but we don't necessarily put a lot of emphasis on our marketing metrics. Mm-hmm. And so understanding, yes, new patients, of course, right? But I love what you said there, reactivated patients. Are we tracking that at all? A lot of clinics don't track reactivated patients. That's very, very important. Patient acquisition cost. Like there's a lot of things that we can dive into on the marketing side that can just help us make much better decisions around where we spend our money and how we do things to get the most bang for our marketing buck. And you had a great point there where sometimes we don't realize how dynamic the world is. And we think, hey, this marketing worked last month. It's going to work next month. And that's not often the case, right? Things change so quickly and people's things are sentiment, the sentiment's different. Something happened in the world where, people's attitudes is like different. They're distracted, or it's seasonal, right? I mean, things are different at the holidays, right? Things are different around springtime. Things are different in the summer when people think about vacation. So we have to be very agile and different in our marketing throughout the year. And that could be something that if we're not paying attention to, and have someone like a marketing director in our clinic helping us see and analyze and make these data-driven decisions, we could be spending a lot of money that's not, getting us a good return.
Absolutely. And, you talk about that seasonal change, having done this for a long time, you kind of get the rhythm down, right? So there tends to be these trends, and that's part of the reporting too, as you look at these trends. But every once in a while, something like COVID happens, which completely changes all the trends, and you just have to be able to pivot. But, it's January now, and of course, all of the deductibles have kind of reset. And so we always see a mad dash in December of people trying to get in and use their last little bit of benefits before the deductible change happens.
Right.
And then there's a lot of people who are on vacation and can't necessarily do that. And then in January, people start to kind of panic because those deductibles are resetting and they're trying to figure things out. So there's a big piece of that. But I would also say a really big disruptor in terms of the digital marketing space are every time Google changes the algorithms. We're kind of, moving along, things are going really well, and we've got it down to rhythm. And then that algorithm change happens.
Gotta love
Everyone's
it.
like, what's happening? And so we're all pivoting and figuring that out. And that's the probably one of the best value adds that your team has helped me with, because I would never be able to do everything I'm doing and keep up with that algorithm change, which just kind of crops up on you. And there's all these things that need to be done on the back end to make sure that you still stay relevant and get to the top of those, search engine results pages for
Such a
sure.
great point there, Anna. And for our audience out there, we all want to be at the top of Google. We all want to be, discovered, want to be at the top of the maps, want to be in the top of the ad section. Like, we want to be found first. We want to make sure that people know that we're the best in our area. Well, we're playing with Google's system, right? We're playing at the whim of Google. And what a lot of people don't realize is that Google actually makes anywhere from, say, 400 to 500 changes throughout the year in how search results pull up. Typically, about 3 to 4 of those are massive changes that occur. And one day you might, we probably all experienced this at some point where we've Googled ourselves. One minute we're at the top, and then the next week we're like, we're not even on page 1. What happened, right? And that's because Google does go through these, very, very rapid algorithm changes, like you said, and how they serve up their search results. So there's always the fundamental principles of what works well that Google wants to keep in place, but there are nuances and changes that have to happen. And so that's where, if you don't have a good marketing director place, and if you're not working with, an agency that really is on top of this, it can take you a long time to recover, if not at all, right? And then you have to do a lot of things that are drastic to get back out there. So awesome point. Now, I'm curious, Anna, you have different programs at the practice, like pelvic health and sports performance, all these awesome programs you guys have developed and put in place. So I'm curious, from your end, is there anything that you do differently to market these different specialties?
Yeah, so we do have a lot of really interesting specialties. I'll kind of start with pelvic health because that's a little bit unique. So we have our in-network pelvic health specialists where people can come and do their regular 45-minute appointment with someone about pelvic floor dysfunction. And then we also have this really great, you called it kind of our seventh practice, which is our Pelvic Health and Performance Center, which is based in our home office in Bellevue. And so we have 3 amazing pelvic health specialists, physical therapists in that clinic, and they're out of network, and so they tend to be able to spend a little bit more time with patients, and they're very, very good at what they do. And they work with patients of all genders and all ages, and so oftentimes there are people who don't have that specialty. So we're really proud of that clinic. I will say that that clinic specifically, they have kind of run with their own marketing, which is really amazing. So I help when I can, but they're just a powerhouse when it comes to that. And that kind of leads me to why I started with that, because What I feel works the best when you have kind of a specialty like that is going back to that other point that I made where you're targeting these affinity groups. So the pelvic health marketing might really target not only, OBGYNs or midwives, but it might target fitness classes for pregnant women, fitness classes for postpartum yoga classes, those kinds of things. And so, with the running, lots of marketing goes on with running stores and running groups. And if it's rock climbing, it's the climbing gyms and that kind of thing. With regards to the sports performance, that's really interesting too. We work with a lot of anything from weekend warrior athletes to your pro athletes. So for example, we work really closely with our pro rugby team here. So the Seattle Seawolves rugby, go Seawolves. And so we have providers who come to games and provide sideline coverage, working, our providers, our physical therapists working with orthopedic doctors on the sidelines with those athletes. And so, marketing for sports kind of happens organically because they see that we have that expertise. Something unique about our company too is we're a teaching clinic. And so we really believe in kind of continuing education. Almost all of our providers have gone through either an orthopedic or sports residency, some people both. And about 50% of our providers have gone through an orthopedic fellowship. And so they're fellows of the American Academy of Orthopedic Manual Physical Therapy. And so we're really proud of that education piece, and people that go through that education, whether it's from a residency program outside of our company, or we have actually our own MTI sports residency program, they go on to mentor other people. So that's kind of a really great piece. And so that education piece keeps going. And so in the process of these programs, we're meeting a lot of athletes, we're meeting a lot of providers. We're working with two major universities in our area, University of Washington and Seattle University, working with their athletes. And the marketing just happens organically. And again, it's part of doing what they love as their marketing. So it's really a beautiful thing. And our website, of course, really helps. I'm really proud of our website. It has some really unique elements. Your team did a great job working with me. I'm very particular about what I like to see on a website. And so there's some design elements and lots of kind of content features that they helped me to kind of achieve, because I really wanted it and they did it. So it's really great. But we have a lot of information about these services, and our website performs very well. And as a result, people are learning about these services through that process as well.
I love that. Yeah, you're so right.
The top 10% of PT owners aren't just surviving, they're thriving. But what's their secret? Well, Neil Trickett's new Market to Grow book reveals how the top 10% of PT practices leverage marketing systems to simultaneously grow their new patients, attract top talent, and boost profit in their practice. You can learn from their secrets. Visit practicepromotions.net/book to claim your free copy of Market to Grow. Yes, you heard that right. We are shipping a free copy of Market to Grow to all podcast listeners who want it. Just visit practicepromotions.net/book to claim your free book. And now back to the show.
I know there's more and more clinics doing this, but I'm a firm believer that this is really the future of physical therapy and the rehab profession, is tapping into the demand from the market, which is people want help that they're not getting through the healthcare system.
Yes.
And, let's think about the pelvic health. That's such an underserved market. I mean, there's so many people, so many women that need help there, and men too. But there's just not enough, therapists for one, right, that are specialized in that. But then also people knowing about it, that we can actually help them a lot. So that's where the marketing really come into play. But I do agree that in those specialty programs, we need to look at developing those. I think first, you also need to look at, from a marketing perspective, can you make sure your marketing within your regular offerings of your clinic is solid? And then you can go and start to really market these programs effectively and build them up so that they are successful. And then that takes what you were mentioning there, which is a real collaborative approach with those specialists in those programs, because there's a lot of nuances there, and they need to give you that feedback on the marketing side so you can make sure that we promote it, portray it properly for them, resonate on some of those key buttons that the public would know about, right, or want, but we may not necessarily know about that as a marketing director. But getting that information directly from those, fantastic advice there, and I love what you guys have really done to grow those programs. So, and I'm curious here, as a marketing director here, and as you evolved and grown with MTI over the years, what advice would you have for other PT marketing directors out there that are not, maybe they're just helping like a 1 or 2 location practice? Like, what do they need to do to plan for this year ahead?
That's a great question. I can think of like 100 things, but I'll try to kind of narrow it down. I think kind of, in my opinion, one of the most important things is to really understand your differentiators, right? Because it's very hard to set yourself apart because there are so many great practices out there and a lot of really talented physical therapists. We're lucky in that way. So every company that I've done research on or I've had relationships with, they have kind of their own angle, their own niche, their own kind of specialty. So understand what yours is, really understand that differentiator and figure out how to get the word across to people about that, because there's an audience and a need for every single piece of that, right? So that's really kind of important. I would also say, sorry to just keep talking about metrics, but you can't understand where you need to go if you don't know where you are, right? So figure out, what your needs are, figure out where your strengths are, and, where you could stand for some improvement. That way you can come up with a great acquisition strategy, but also a retention strategy. And then the third thing is sometimes it feels like you're kind of alone on an island as if you're the only marketing person working in a big company, but you don't have to feel that way. It's important, we don't really call marketing at our company. We call it relationship building, right? So we're building relationships with providers, with people, with anyone, but we're also building relationships with each other inside of our company. So try to take the stigma away from the word marketing and invite and engage your team, whether that's the C-suite or high level team, or our admins who are incredible marketers. They're greeting people every day and they're the face of the company, or the physical therapists who are providing the wonderful services. They each have a part to play. So figure out how you can kind of engage them in your strategy as a whole. And the last thing I'll say about this is there's a lot of ways we can market and a lot out there. Try not to get overwhelmed. You can't do it all, but you can do a lot. You just have to be really systemic about it and figure out what you need and what is a priority, and just go slow. And then, of course, if you have the help of an agency, it's wonderful, because know what their strengths are and let them do that. That way you can do the other things, and then together it works out really, really well.
Yeah. Great advice there, Anna. Thank you so much. And I wholeheartedly agree with all of that. And especially that last point where, yes, it's self-serving. I'm an agency owner. But here's the key thing that I see for PT owners out there, as well as marketing directors out there, if you're listening. The key thing here to think about is that in marketing, it's such a huge sphere of work, right? And as Anna was saying, there's so many things that you can't get to everything. And then also, and especially in today's world, right, where we're trying to be Google experts, we're trying to be SEO experts, we're trying to be Google Ads experts, we're trying to be website developers, social media experts, content planners, copywriting, strategy, and then of course everything that's happening within the clinic, and try to bring those stories and content to light. It's impossible for one person to be able to be an expert at all of this. And In Anna's particular point, clinics like MTI and others that we work with that have marketing directors, we are the technical people that help them. And they are the strategists, they are the coordinators within the clinic. They work with the executives on what the strategy is, where are we going, what do we need to adapt to, and then they lean on us to be there to help support them with all the technical aspects that it's just impossible to try and do all yourself. So I would say that's really a key thing for practice owners, especially to think about out there, is that sometimes we just focus on cost and we think about, oh, I have a marketing director. They're gonna, everything marketing's related to them. You can't. You have to invest in helping them be successful, and that's where, again, we can really help in that regards.
Yes, and I just have to shout out your team because especially our digital account manager Saxon and Justin, who helps us with Google Ads, they're just wonderful. And if something comes up, they're there and they help and they fix it and they stay on top of things. I meet with Saxon every month, and so I stay really on top of what's going on. And I really couldn't do it without you guys. I feel like that's a huge part of our success in terms of handling some of those pieces that I just wouldn't have time to get to. So I appreciate you guys a lot.
We appreciate you too. Thank you so much, Anna. Great feedback there. I'm curious, in your opinion, this is for practice owners out there that are growing, right? And they haven't yet hired a marketing director. Maybe they have 3, 4, 5 providers, and they've gotten to a certain level of success from their reputation and obviously the things that they do. What would you tell them if they're thinking about hiring that marketing director? Yes, it's an expense, but what impact would that have for them in their practice and hiring a marketing director?
Yeah, that's a great question. Obviously, I'm a huge proponent of doing so. But I would say, practice owners are amazing. They are trying to do everything, and they're trying to treat patients and grow the business and stay on top of the financials, and they're trying to market. And just like what I said, as a marketing director, I can't do it all, even within the sphere of marketing. That's exponentially the case if you're trying to do marketing and all these other things. So, you will see that hiring a marketing person at the very least, and hopefully somebody who's strategic and can kind of help with the big picture, will pay for itself down the line, because you will see those schedules filling, and then you will have to hire more physical therapists and keep growing from there, if that's one of your goals. Everyone has a different set of goals for their business. And so if your goal is to continue to fill schedules and grow your practice, having a dedicated person who knows what they're doing and can kind of take that off of your plate is really valuable. Again, I'll go back to being able to look at numbers, set strategy, and come up with the actual projects that need to happen after. The strategic part is the high level, and then you have to have your projects that happen after that. How do we accomplish those goals? So a marketing director could certainly do that, and even a marketing manager. That's how I started out at MTI, as a marketing manager, and eased into my job.
Love it. And you're so right. I mean, and it could be a scale up type position that you could do. It could be, the hourly to more full-time, whatever you think takes the practice. I would challenge practice owners out there in this time, especially this time of year, as you're thinking ahead for the growth of your practice, what you want to achieve over this next year, even the next 1 to 3 years. And let's just say you're at 4, maybe 5 providers. And if your goal is to, let's say, double that, you want to get to 7, 8, even 10 providers, what's that going to look like at that level? How are you going to fill all those slots, right? Yes. And so that's where the marketing side becomes even more critical, because in order to, you could have a potentially really slow growth towards that, which might take you years and years. But there comes a point where it doesn't, if you're not doing enough marketing, it doesn't get there. Or you could say, okay, this is where I want to be over the course of a year, course of 2 years. I'm going to have to, eat a little bit now in terms of profit put that towards a marketing director salary, and then that's going to allow me to expand my capabilities in marketing, to get to those numbers, to get to those number of providers that I want to get to. So something to definitely consider with that. But one thing I've seen time and time again in our industry is because we do have to be very budget conscious, is that the so many practice owners I meet, they're really choking their business because they haven't invested enough in a marketing director. They haven't invested enough in marketing, and yet they want to get to this particular growth goal.
Yeah.
So something I think for us to evaluate at this time.
For sure. And I would even add, what I'm seeing in some of these smaller companies too, from speaking with different individuals on their team, is the owners can't always get to the marketing. So they're asking the PTs to do it. And I mentioned that we do the same thing, but most PTs didn't go to school for marketing. They might have taken a class here and there. Maybe it was covered a little bit along their route to getting their DPT. But for the most part, they're physical therapists. So it's just like, I wouldn't give advice on how to treat a patient. They don't necessarily know how to tackle the marketing.
Yeah.
So, even if you want to have your physical therapist do some marketing, which makes sense because they are the experts, we need to help empower them to do that. And so having a marketing person on staff, even if it's a fractional person and not a full-time person, they can help to cultivate the brand of the company and kind of figure out what those differentiators are and help the PTs to understand what language would be best to explain what they do in the best possible way, as well as what channels to approach. And then that marketing person can focus more on, the website and things like that if they're doing kind of that hands-on, guerrilla marketing out there.
Yeah.
So even if they're doing marketing, they may not have the skill set to do it in the way that's going to help you grow.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Yeah, I'm curious. We were talking a little bit about this before the podcast here, and you gave me a few figures. Since COVID, what's the growth been like at MTI with your marketing?
So I'm really excited to say that we've grown about 30% in terms of our visits. So that is just really, really exciting. When COVID happened, everything was just so disrupted, and it was, a very uncertain time for all of us. And so it's been just wonderful to kind of see that rebound. And then also to the point that we were speaking with at the beginning of our time together, there's been a rebalancing of kind of the shift of all referrals coming just from provider referrals and friends and family to having there be kind of more of an even balance between referral sources. And so I think that that shift happened because of a lot of things that we've done to pivot, but also instead of fighting technology as it's evolving, we've embraced it. And so that includes, using the tools that we have now, Google Ads, AI search, and optimizing all of our digital marketing for those important tools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. Fantastic. Congratulations on your growth there. That is exciting, especially, a clinic your size, right, and growth. That sometimes that's a smaller percentage, but that is quite large growth for a clinic your size, and that's very exciting to see. And what we're looking for there too is what you talked about, which is overall growth, right, in terms of patient visits and revenue and things that we're seeing in the clinic. But then there's the other component of stability, right? And so when we have that capability to be our own advocate or go direct to consumer, and we don't rely on just one or two key sources, then our ability to get new patients becomes more stable, and we have less roller coastering that occurs. So I love to hear that's been a really awesome transformation.
Definitely. And I just want to also point out that sometimes that visit number grows because you add PTs. And of course, if you have more PTs, there's more visits. We've stayed pretty flat. So, with COVID, some people decided they didn't want to be physical therapists anymore, and they kind of pivoted. So our PT number was closer to 50 before COVID, and then kind of dipped, and we've grown back a little bit. But right now we're, like you mentioned, at around 44 physical therapists. And so I'm really proud of that growth because we haven't created that growth by adding people. We've created that growth by having a solid product, a great service, and really solid marketing too.
Fantastic. Yeah,
Myself.
congratulations on that. That's
Yeah.
well deserved. And
Yeah.
you mentioned obviously therapists coming and going, right? And that's just something that's across the board. There's over 12,000 PT shortfall now in nationally. So I'm curious from your side, have you seen more of incorporating marketing into hiring and recruiting?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So what's, again, I mentioned this, it's really easy to market when you work at a company that you're really proud of and has great people and a great place to work. So I wouldn't have stayed this long if it wasn't a great place to work. So, we do lots of marketing to bring people in, specifically for our sports residency program. So it's a really unique and great program because it incorporates a little bit of the manual side too. Sometimes they call it sports manual therapy as well. So it's kind of a newer term. And so, we find that, having a solid website process for people to learn about what we do, what we're about, and then figure out how to actually apply and what the benefits are. But, we also attend local job fairs, and we have a really kind of robust student program where PT students on their rotations will come and spend some time and get hands-on experience and mentored by one of our great physical therapists. I know that this space does have some attrition, but I have to say that I'm also really proud of the fact that we've had some physical therapists who were with us from day one, and they're still with us. And so, we have a lot of newer people come in, which is awesome, but we also have a lot of really seasoned veterans who have stayed with us over the course of time because it is a great place to work. So I think like everything is marketing, right? So just even talking to your neighbor is marketing. So, of course, using those same strategies for attracting the next generation of physical therapists is really important too.
Yeah, great advice there, Anna. I couldn't agree more. That's one thing from a marketing director standpoint is meeting the needs of the clinic, right? And obviously that's first and foremost trying to get new patients, past patients back in, and keep the numbers up, the retention up of the patients. But then in today's world, in the competitive environment that we have within healthcare and especially within the physical therapy rehabilitation sphere, we have to market harder to attract top people to come work with us. It's just a given, and I think that what I'm seeing is something we put a lot of effort into over this last year is really working with clinics. I think MTIPT.com is fantastic. It's a great example. If you want to go check that out, just look at the careers there. I mean, they've done a phenomenal job in how they really sell the clinic to someone out there who's looking for a change. So that's the level that you have to take your clinic to. I think that's a great example, but like that's the level that you have to take your clinic to if you want to be able to compete and attract in today's talent market.
Yeah, I agree. You're absolutely right. In the past year, we did rework that page, and we also reworked our sports residency page and our orthopedic manual therapy residency page to kind of figure out how we can get the most important message across, what the perks are for working for us, but also, how coming to us and if they participate in a program like that, they'll continue to grow their craft and become better and stronger as physical therapists, and also have this incredible mentoring opportunity with all of these very skilled therapists as well. So just kind of revising that page has been great, and we've had a lot of feedback from students saying, "Wow, this we really like your page. We learned a lot, and it kind of helped us to make that decision." So if you have a website for those practice owners out there who have a website and don't have kind of a join our team page or haven't really spent a lot of time on it because you didn't think it was as important, I urge you to spend some time on it, because especially if you have that goal to grow the number of providers that you have at your practice. So it's definitely worth the effort.
100% love it. And so, Anna, just looking ahead for this year, I'm curious, what would you say is some of your big goals for MTI PT?
Yeah, so I always have a lot of goals. The goals that I have both hit acquisition and retention pieces. From the acquisition piece, I kind of want to work a little bit more on our kind of marketing funnel, finding more of a pathway as patients come to our site and give them a little value add so we can capture them and continue to communicate with them until they convert and schedule with us. So that's a piece that we're working on. From a retention piece, just working more on those that drip campaign. So we use an electronic medical record system called Prompt. And so I'm really excited that your team and Prompt are starting to talk with one another, creating this API so that we can use your Engage system and have a more branded look and feel to the communications that we're sending to our patients. So that's a big piece of kind of what we're working on. And then of course, just trying to stay on top of this very fast moving changes that AI is bringing and making sure that we're doing whatever we need to do, adding more content, FAQs on the pages, speaking with the AI agents in their language on the back end with the long tail keywords and things like that to really make sure that that our site also comes up on the AI searches and not just on Google. So there are a lot of other goals that we have, but those are kind of the top three, I think, right now.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah. And I love that you're so forward thinking with that and obviously trying to see where we can fit in and leverage the development of AI and how we're using that within the clinic and especially from a marketing perspective, right? And I do think, again, we're going to see that quickly evolve over the next few years, where people's behaviors in the community start to, become much more ingrained with the use of AI in day-to-day life. And so just like we got used to Google Maps, right, and Googling people and looking at reviews and all these kind of things, I think that's going to be a big part of how people make decisions moving forward. So how can we position our clinic within those, for now, it's still 97% Google as far as the Google AI overview and other results that have come up within the Google searches. But ChatGPT is coming up, and I think they will take a little bit more of the market share. Google came back really fast with that, so I don't know how much that will be, but there's always disruptors in the market for sure. But for now, there's also tons of the AI search results that are happening now within Google, and so making sure our clinics can really rise within those search results is key.
Yeah. I think also what's really important is not to be afraid of it and not to be afraid of change. I'm not a person who loves change, but in this space, things change very, very quickly. So not just the digital marketing space, but even in marketing physical therapy, like you have to stay with it. And so don't be afraid to explore change. I know it can be hard, but again, having experts who can help you navigate that change, such as a marketing person on staff and or an agency, can really help you get through that because you can't just know everything, and I certainly don't. And so I rely a lot on your team to keep me up to date on what's going on and how we can pivot.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Anna, thank you so much for all your incredible insight today and wisdom as the marketing director for MTI Physical Therapy. And I think it's given a lot of inspiration for other marketing directors out there and also practice owners saying, okay, I think I got to go find that Anna from my team. So thank you so much for being on with us here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really a pleasure. And, hopefully there's lots of great marketing people out there and they can find a new home, hopefully at a great physical therapy practice across the country.
That's right. Awesome. Thank you, Anna. Yeah. And if you want to check out MTI Physical Therapy, it's mtipt.com. Anna did a fantastic job of all the content in there and giving us direction on what was there, what they really wanted to portray. So I think that's a fantastic website that we all work together on. So check that out. For our listeners out there, don't forget to hit the follow button and subscribe to us here on the Practice Marketing Podcast, as well as on our YouTube channel where you can watch this video as well as many others on there. And then don't forget to go to practicepromotions.net. We can get tons of free downloads and advice for marketing your practice. This is Neil Trickett from the Practice Marketing Podcast, wishing you much success in your practice.
A free way for you to support our show is by leaving a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It's a chance for you to tell us what you love about the show, and it helps others discover it as well. Just scroll down to ratings and review on your phone and click write a review. Thanks.